and the position of a foe. So then he wants to say, Jitatvanah prasantasya paramatma samahitah शीतोष्ण सुख दुखेषु तथा मानापमानयोः. This also we saw a little yesterday. Today we shall see it clearly. Jitatvanah prasantasya paramatma samahitah शीतोष्ण सुख दुखेषु तथा मानापमानयोः. ज्ञान विज्ञान तृप्तात्मा कुटस्थो विजितेन्द्रियः युक्त इत्युच्यते योगी समलोष्टरसकाञ्चनः. One who has conquered the self, by the self. What is the state of such a person? That is what he explains. How can we know who has conquered the self? Just as the indications of a person whose mind is established on the self, sthita prajna, whose mind is eternally, completely, firmly fixed on the self, not to be shaken by any means, he is called sthita prajna. And such a person, how can we know outwardly? So Lord Krishna explained to Arjuna in the very beginning, in the second chapter, what are the indications, how he speaks, how he acts, how he behaves in all respect, so that we can recognize his mind is strongly, firmly established in the self. He is called sthita prajna. And similarly now, the same thing in different terms. One who has conquered the self, that means he becomes a sthita prajna in other terms. But here the term is used as yogarudha. He has been established in yoga. Yoga ends in one-pointed mind. So this chapter is called the yoga of techniques of meditation. Of course, we have so much theories from different sources. And Raj Yoga, of course, Patanjali pathway of yoga, it explains so technically and accurately how to control the mind and make it steady, and which is known as meditation. So if the meditation is prolonged for a pretty long time, the mind gets established in that one-pointedness, that slowly, by and by, it is named differently. Meditation is named as Savikalp Samadhi, Samadhi with one thought. That may be ego, that may be identity, that I, or its existence as witness in many forms. But the state is one only, but it is seen differently and named differently. That is what happens in meditation when prolonged for a long time, which is named differently. And still more if it is steadied for a long time, where that identity also loses its existence and it melts in the absolute existence. no identity, no ego, no seer is there found. So in that state it is Nirvikalpa Samadhi, named as Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And then also there are some stages which cannot be expressed in words, which melts in the absolute, not to return again to the state of mind. Or we can say world, mind is world. So in this way, same thing from different angles is described with a different terminology. Here he says, when one conquers the self by the self, what happens to the state of such a being? The supreme self of him, Paramatma Samahita, where his self is lost his identity in the Supreme Self. And in that state, it is called Prasant, not only Sant, Prasant. From every angle, by all means, it is strongly established in that absolute peaceful equilibrium state. Paramatma Samahita. How it becomes one, how does it melt in the absolute? This melting, of course, we have to use some words to express the idea. It is not really melting, not merging, not uniting. We use all these words to express that state, but all these expressions are partly correct and partly it is limited, and it belongs to the sound only. So in that state, how can we understand? They give many kinds of different examples. We have the example of an empty pot. Say it is earthen pot, and if the empty pot is there, what we find? Emptiness means, of course, there will be air and there will be sky also. So if at all we break down the pot or we remove the pot from that place, what happens to that sky or air inside it? Of course, for air we can think something because it has got some movement. Sky has got no movement. So if the pot is broken, what happens to the inside sky? Does it mix with the outside sky? Is there any outside sky and inside sky? Can it be identified differently? And if the pot is broken, what happens to that inside sky? We named it as inside sky because we have some limitations to understand and express. So in that state, what happens to that inside sky? Neither it mixes with the outside sky, nor it merges in it. Nothing happens. It remains as it is. So how can this self merge or remain as it is after the body dissolves of a Jnani, realized soul, what happens to the self? According to some other seers, they have used some other terms to express it. They say natasya pranan utkramante. Pran, the vital energy, vital air, never goes out of his body when the body melts, dissolves in all these sources. 5 elements, they return to their sources. But what happens to the prana? And what happens to the self? Prana is not the self. We have some difference in our understanding. What is reality, nobody knows. One who realizes he keeps quiet, he never expresses anything. So, without experience, we cannot understand it. Yet we can assume something, we can imagine something as per the seers have expressed it. Somewhat we can get. So they say the pran of such a person never gets out, then what happens to it? Similarly, the case with the self. His self never comes out, then what happens to it? What happens to the darkness when there is lightning in the sky? What happens to that darkness? And if something is invisible to you due to darkness, and after the lightning you have seen it clearly, what happens to that clarity after the lightning is gone and again darkness covers up? What happens to that clarity? Can you forget it? And what happens to that darkness after the lightning is gone? It is unexpressible. That's why it is called anirvachaniya. Anirvachaniya, it is unexpressible by the words. It is only subject to your experience. Just as the sky in the empty pot and the clarity after the darkness gets away, disappears. Where does that darkness go when there is light? This is to understand. We have many other methods also to have some idea. That idea is not 100% clear, but yet we can have some ideas. Say, a boy is absent in home, the only boy. What happens to the father when the boy is not seen in the house? What happens to him? He will be restless for the only son. Where has he gone? He will go on searching. This is what happens commonly. And he will go on searching places, assuming he may be present here. He has been absent in the house means he is not sure what happened to him, whether he is dead and gone or he is missing somewhere. Has he gone to some place particularly knowingly or unknowingly, or he has been kidnapped by someone, or he has gone somewhere to enjoy his time. Nothing is known. So what happens, that process of searching, we go on assuming something, guessing something, and searching for his presence. We want to search him, means his presence, his appearance. So it goes on endlessly until and unless his presence is found. And when the presence is found, he is found to be somewhere, then what happens to that absence? What happens to that absence? Do you go again in search of him? So what happens to that effort of searching and to that absence? Absence means it is not there. So it is just a misunderstanding or forgetting or not knowing the state of presence. So when the presence is found, then no question of absence or search or effort, nothing is there. They vanish in nowhere. We cannot say anything. Where have they gone? Our effort, our search, our feeling of his absence, everything was not there. Now it is not there. And it will not be there in future also. Forever the problem is over. So this we cannot express in the words. Everybody understands it, but nobody can speak exactly in words what happens to the absence, what happens to the darkness when light appears, what happens to the absence when presence is found. In the same way, what happens to the object which was hidden in the darkness? What happens? It was there, it is there, it will be there, but due to our inability, we didn't have any clarity over the object, and when we got that ability, that is there forever, even how much darkness covers it up afterwards, nothing happens. Darkness cannot do anything. Another example I always quote, see, you have lost your track, you have entered into a dense forest at the evening time and you are searching for some path to get out. But on the other hand, you are entering to dense forest and darkness darkens and you are helpless and the sky was cloudy, nothing is visible. What is your state at that time? Nobody is with you, you are all alone. All of a sudden, you came across some lion standing before you, opening his jaws, ready to swallow you. What will happen? Simply close your eyes out of extreme fear and sit down speechlessly. Nothing can be done. And all of a sudden, there was lightning, and you found it was not a real living stone, living lion, but it is a stone lion. Then now again, after the lightning is over, what will happen? Again the same pitch darkness. Will you be afraid of that lion again? Or you will play with it? Similarly, the state of a realized soul happens when he realizes everything of this darkness of the world. The reality is not seen. So we are suffering, suffering and suffering. There is no end to suffering. There is no limit of our sufferings. And if that lightning, one glimpse of that absolute light is there, it is enough for ever. Enough. You know what is the world and how it hides the reality. And then let there be world for others, but for you, others in that darkness, if come to that lion, they will feel also same as you were feeling before. The world yet exists, the darkness persists. For others, not for you. Similarly, when one realizes the self means, he experiences the truth. Then, after that, let the world be for eternity. What does it matter to you? Nothing happens, nothing can shake him from his understanding and firm conviction. Nobody can shake him. Let the world remain for eternity. It can do no harm to you. So in this way, the self melts in the self. That means nothing happens to the self. We have to say something, express something in words. The reality is found. Other example I give always. Practically I have undergone the dream story. Once I was invited to reach Kanyakumari, and I had only one day left, and all the tickets were booked the same day. I have to go from here to Kanyakumari and reach there in the same day, about 4,000 feet, 4,000 kilometers I have to cover one day. I got up at 3 o'clock. It was alerting my mind. I got up at 3 o'clock. I woke up my driver, Vipin. He also got up and got ready within 15-20 minutes. And we caught the car and reached the Dehradun airport before time. And I got into the plane in right time, and I had to go to Bombay. And then another connecting plane to Trivandrum. And Trivandrum I got down. It was about night, just 7 o'clock or something in the evening, and the car was ready, arranged by the people who invited me. And I went out and had something outside, some food, because whole day I have not eaten anything. And quickly I got into the car and I reached the place at 12:30 night. A long way I have to cover, about 200-300 kilometers. And road was not so clean, not so clear, and it was raining also. So somehow I have been terrifically tired. The moment I reached there, they had some arrangement for bed. I said, I don't want any comfort. I want to lie down. They arranged it for me. And I was so tired, I could not have sound sleep. I was dreaming all the time, 3-4 hours. When I got up at 4 o'clock, that was my habit, I remember whole 4 hours dream. It was only my trial to reach Trivandrum, Kanyakumari. My dream, I was always rushing and running and trying to keep up the time. The whole 4 hours dream spent in it. I was so tired in the dream itself. All the time I was striving hard to not to miss anything. And my aim was to reach Kanyakumari, where I am dreaming at Kanyakumari itself. I am dreaming I have to reach Kanyakumari. Because of my pre-assumptions that was so deep, I was dreaming.
Or the mind was involved in such an action that it has formed the dream to think like that only.
Dream has got so many causes. Sometimes when the present situation goes deep into the mind, that comes in the dream. It is one of the reasons. It is not always the same. Dream has got so many reasons how dream happens. So in that way, when one realizes the God, it is not finding something outside or which is lost to find it out, and nothing to find something new. You are there where you are searching for the object. Other examples also they give. They say lost chain in the lost necklace in your own neck. When you go to the mirror, you find your chain. Had you lost it before? Now you have found it. What happened to the chain? Have you got your lost chain? Many times it happens with me also. I am catching the pen in left hand because I always write by right hand. And now I am getting annoyed with these boys and around me. You see, everybody takes away my pen without asking me. I have to search the whole room where my pen has gone. I was honored with everyone there. And Durgi came forward, Swamiji, what are you searching? My pen, somebody has taken away. Your, what are you catching? What are you catching? See your hand. Oh, my Lord. This is how we forget. This is called ignorance, misunderstanding. In whatever word you can tell it, this is the situation. So this is how the lost self is found. Just as the lost necklace is found. Nothing is lost, nothing is gained. Nothing happens when you realize your mistake. It is only to realize the mistake, not realize the self. This is the final understanding. Nobody realizes the self, but they realize the mistake they did before. Are you able to get the point? Self-realization means realization of your mistakes. This is the last conclusion after analyzing the process. This is what comes out. And similar is the case with the meditation, samadhi. It is not a achievement. Mind is basically what we know. It is restlessness of the absolutely resting position. If the surfacial water is wavery, how do you understand it? The water is water always. It was in a balanced state, and that balanced state is misbalanced somehow or other by association of air or by something. Some cause is there of the imbalanced state. But that doesn't say the water is ever disappeared or you have found out the water, the basic truth. Can it be said you have found out the water when the waves are subsided? Can we express like this? It is wrong expression. So, meditation means it is not an achievement. Samadhi is not achievement. There is no effort which can enable you to have meditation. People don't understand what is called meditation. That's how they try to meditate. And they fail. Why? Because they don't understand what is the state of meditation. Our effort should be and ought to be to remove the obstacles which are known as unsteadiness, imbalanced state. That is our effort to achieve. We realize our mistakes only, and after realization, all they disappear just as the darkness disappears at pitch dark night when there is lightning. Nothing happens to the objects hidden by the darkness. They were there, they are there, they will be there. It was not visible And visibility or invisibility, it is your problem, your misunderstanding or your some obstacles or your inability or your misunderstanding or ignorance or forgetfulness, something we may express which is not 100% real. So this is the real realization. Realization means no realization. Realization means realization of the mistakes you do. The self is ever present. It was not lost, it was not unrealized, so that it will be realized. In that case, if we can accept this analytical process, then we have to say, we are bound to accept there is no realization, there is no liberation. No liberation. Nobody gets liberated. So, as such, the great seers have opined, natasya pranan utkramante. Pran of such a person never gets out, nor his heart, the absolute abode of the truth, never gets united, nor it was ununited before. It remains as it is. All our effort is meant to clear out our doubts. And on this basis it is said, vidyate hriday granthi siddhyante sarva sansayaha nasyanti tasya karmani tasmin rishte paravare. When all the doubts are over, and how can it happen? That attachment with this body on reality, when that is loosened, it is separated from each other, and all the doubts thereby disappear. And then, wherever the mind goes, after that, yatra yatra mano jati tatra tatra paramritam. After understanding it is a stone lion, not living lion, even though the darkness pervades all over the dense forest, you are never afraid of the lion. The clarity that remains forever undisturbed. It was a stone lion, now also it is a stone lion. After the lightning also, even though darkness pervades, that remains as stone only. Your inability of the visibility of the clarity is now gone forever. Inability of visibility of the clarity is gone forever. That is what happens to such persons. That is called samahita. This word is little more appropriate than other words. Samahita.
वशिष्ठी के उसमें भी एक ये 72nd श्लोक से पहले जीवो जीवो भवत्याशु यति चित्तम चित्तम विचारादित्य विद्यन्तो मोक्षय इत्याभिधीयते.
Moksha iti abhidhiyate. When by contemplation again and again, continuously goes on, then all this misunderstanding disappears, and that is called mukti. Mukti from misunderstanding, attachment with this unreality. We take it for granted, this unreality to be reality. That is, we are bound, that's how. And now when it is gone, that tie is loosened, and you have understood the reality, means clarity is seen. That is called mukti, or that is called realization of the self, or call it as you like. It has got no meaning. Yes.
So from a relative point of view, like we said, like prana is mind, mind is prana. So then further reduction, if we say prana is equal to mind. So in the math the following, when we put on one side is the absorption of a mind, so on the other side, what is the value should we understand relatively with prana? So the prana is an energy, so it is absorbed in itself.
Again and again we see from different angles. The prana sometimes appears to be different from the mind, but it is one and the same thing. Only from one angle it appears as prana, the prompting or activating force, and from other angle it is different from the mind, and mind is different from the prana. Activated force. It is activating force, and that is mind is activated force. Same thing. So when mind stops, prana also has to stop. And when prana stops, the mind also has to stop. So it is one and the same. Effort can be done to achieve either this side or that side. Anything that results in one thing only.
So relatively in that state, then what is the state of chitta and with the all the latent?
Everything is one and the same. Mind means fourfold mind. And prana also, it is the same with the mind from one angle. From other angle it is different. How do you consider you are an electrician and also sound engineer? What is difference between sound and electricity? What is the difference between the magnet and electricity?
Both are energies.
Difference, not the same.
Difference is seen sometimes according to its action and its reactions and its state of that energy. The difference is found in non-difference. This language may give you some clarity. Difference in non-difference and non-difference in difference. That is what we always discuss. Action in inaction, inaction in action.
Worldliness is difference in non-difference, and the oneness is not.
How do you see it? Take it as you like. No objection. NOC is forever. So we were understanding the word samahita. Paramatma samahita. Samahita means the doubt disappearance. the disappearance of the doubt. That is called samahita. Such a person, shitoshna sukha dukhesu tatha manapamanayoha, and his balanced state will never see the pairs of opposites, that is, it remains same, balanced in the pairs of opposites. The Supreme Self of him who is self-controlled and peaceful is balanced in cold and heat. He never feels it. Though there is cold and heat, there is difference for others. For him there is no difference. Yesterday also we discussed it. The same temperature gives you, it is so hot, and same temperature gives you the idea it is very cold. Temperature is temperature. Difference is in degrees. So similarly, sukha and dukh, or cold or heat, they are not different from each other. In relative day-to-day life, we feel the difference only to behave correctly in dualistic world. The same thing is called head, and same coin is called tail. Is there any difference? But we find the difference. We have to behave differently. When you put the toss, will you say the tail? No, no, it is head? No, it is tail only. Though it is not different from the head, relatively we have to behave properly, and inwardly you know the same coin. Bhavadvetam sada kuryat, kriyadvetam na karichit. Always you have to feel difference, bring difference when relatively you behave with two things comparatively. There is difference, and inwardly you know only one coin has got two sides. So both are inward and outward. And that's how yoga says your extrovert mind should be drawn and become introvert. That means the relative behavior should be overlooked, and you must be centered in the self, that means in the heart of hearts. So the outer world is not there for you. And others also, different sages have told, which is the reality. What we think inwardly, that we see outwardly. Only because of the demarcating line of the body, we feel inward and outward. If the body is not there, where is the sense of inner and outer? It is only body which makes this feeling inner or outer. When that sense is gone, there is nothing in or out. So that is, if a man of understanding sees it with understanding, then he will see the inner thoughts project out, and that outside world is nothing but the projection of your inner thoughts. That's all. There is no difference. So to bring this feeling, we have discussed the story of Dhruva. Though he was visualizing the presence of Lord Vishnu inwardly, Lord Vishnu appeared outwardly also. And to remove that difference and simultaneously to overcome, for Dhruva to overcome the sense of body, then only he will be inwardly and outwardly one. That's why Lord Vishnu appeared outwardly and he said, Dhruva, open your mouth. I am the same which you see inwardly. And then only you can behave. Behavior means he had some wish before to have the seat on his father's lap. So it is behavioral attitude only. So unless you see outside and inside differently and understand it is one and the same, you cannot achieve your previous desires fulfilled. So Lord appeared outwardly, and granted the boon, though he had forgotten it. When he realized outside and inside the same, he forgot all the desires. That means the relative behavioral world is gone for him forever. And Lord Vishnu reminded him, you had such desire, which was forgotten by Dhruva. So he granted, I give you a permanent, eternal, steady position, ever constant. Dhruv means constancy. And that's how he is ever constant, not to rise, not to set. And it is said astrologically, Dhruva is the center of our universe. So, center is always fixed, eternal, fixed, constant position. So, in that state there is no relative behavior, so there is no heat nor cold, no sense of good or bad. So tomorrow we shall see it again little more. What happens to such a person? His senses, his mental assumptions, his fourfold mind, his prana, his previous understanding. What happened to all this? Tomorrow we shall see again. Hari Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sadguru Bhagavan ki jai, Satchidananda Bhagavan ki jai, Krishna Bhagavan ki jai, Gita Mata ki jai. Hari Om.